So this is currently the state of my workshop. From the view you've got, it might not look too bad, but from my point of view, it is terrible. It's always cluttered, there's tools chucked everywhere. To get to a workspace, I've got to remove one tool, put it on the floor, pick up another tool to use it, and then go through the same process again to swap it about. And as my workshop's grown, it's not proving a good use of time or being that practical. So the plan to resolve this situation means everything behind me has to go out the door, and we're going to put a Mitresaw station in its place. Now there's loads of different plans for Mitresaw stations. I'm going to use bits of this one and bits of that one and come up with my own, but the most important thing is I need to put my Mitresaw somewhere. I need some under cabinet storage so I can wheel in my thicknesser planer. I also want some storage in it for my Stanley Fatmax boxes. I want some storage for offcuts. I also want to put my pillar drill and my scroll saw on there. So not too much really to squeeze into a small space, but let's get this area cleared and crack on with it. So there we go, with the magic of YouTube, the space is now lovely and clear. So I've not painted the wall along here because I'll extend the pallet slat wall down, so you won't see that, so I'm not going to waste time painting it because I hate painting, don't know if I've ever mentioned that. So now I need to build a framework that's going to bolt to the wall here, and that is going to be the top part of the Mitresaw station. So let's get on with that. So this Mitresaw station is of a really easy construction. It's all butt joints secured together with 2 screws either end. I've decided not to glue the joints together just in case I want to add or remove any parts in the future to further increase the strength of the bench or add some extra pieces in. These little bangered corner clamps worked an absolute treat on this type of build, ensuring each joint was a perfect 90-degree joint, and it also helps it look good too. So this is the front piece, and I'll make sure that it sits 18mm higher than the support pieces so that when I come to secure the top of this bench into position, it will sit flush with this redwood front. Each support piece that I fix into position on this front piece will be counterbored first so that I can add some plugs later on to cover the screw heads. These hammering fixings make it easy to fit the back batten against the wall, and each screw has a shear load of 60 kilograms, so it should be plenty enough for my needs. Okay, so that's a basic framework completed. I've gone with the framework because my walls are horrendously out of square, so it's easy to build the framework and attach that to the walls and then build the legs and the sides accordingly. Now I have gone with 2 different types of timber. So I've gone with this planed rosewood on the front and then kiln dried treated timber for the rest of the framework. The reason I've gone for that is because the treated timber should hopefully withstand any moisture that comes in the garage, because the cabinet that used to be over here in the corner, when I took that apart, there was quite a few mould spores on the back of the plywood that I hadn't treated. Whereas I'll treat this rosewood, so hopefully it'll be protected. And you'll see this rosewood from the front of the bench, whereas you won't see the kiln dried stuff with the stuff on top of it. So next then we can move on to the legs. So whilst I fitted the framework in place, I clamped these pieces of wood to the front edge so I could fit the framework to the wall level. I'll replace them with the same redwood timber I used for the front of this bench. So here's where I get my first try of using this Mitresaw station. This is a plywood top I'll eventually use, and this was reclaimed as it was originally used for shuttering. Then I can place my saw on top and see if I'm happy with the height of this bench.
I think he's a happy chap. Now the two side legs need a notch cut out of them on opposite sides, and I'll use this offcut to draw around to get the right size. I find it easiest to cut the notches out with my Japanese pull saw. But the middle leg had a notch in the middle, so my coping saw coped with that job. Then before I can level the frame and fix the legs into position, I need to add this 18mm spacer so that it raises the back piece up to an equal height with the front piece, and my spirit level will sit flat across the two. Then when it's level, I can fix the leg into position with a clamp, then secure the leg in place with 2 screws from the front. The centre leg got fixed into position with 2 screws on one side and then one across from this side, holding it all nice and tight in place. And I'll just add this extra brace piece in to help support the weight of the Mitresaw. Then it's time to fix the top into place. I marked out equal spacing for the countersink screws. Now I need to draw around the Mitresaw so I can cut out an area for passive dust collection. Now I couldn't find my dust mask here when it came to sanding the top down, but I had the door wide open so I could get some good airflow circulating, but it wasn't enjoyable without a dust mask. And finally I plugged the screw holes in the front piece with some walnut plugs. I made these from a piece of scrap. Always worth holding on to your offcuts.
Right, so it's the next day, and today's little job is to make the support wings for the Mitresaw. So I've got some MDF, so first job is to measure up and see how much I need.
So I use these roofing bolts to fix the saw in place, as the rubber on them should help with the vibrations from the Mitresaw. So I bought this rather fancy ruler from Banggood, and I'll use that for marking out the 18mm MDF for the wings. As it's raining outside, I can't use a table saw, so I'll use a track saw to make these cuts. And this is the point where I had to go and dig out my dust mask. And then I also cut out these two lengths that will be the support legs for the wings. Pocket holes are the best way for me to fix these in place. I already pre-marked the underside of the wings, so I knew exactly where each leg had to be fixed, so that the gap between the legs were an equal distance. And the last bit to do on the wings is to cut this corner off flush with the furthest angle of the mitre saw. I'll add a coat of this hard wearing varnish on the front piece. Well, 3 coats actually.
Okay, so that's as far as I can go at the minute, so this will have to be the end of part 1. I've not ordered the T-track to go on the fence that's going to go on the back of these wings, and I've painted the wings. I've also put some of the same varnish that I put on the front here just to help protect it, and these wings are only secured from underneath with a few screws in the support legs. I didn't bother gluing them down because if they ever become damaged or I need to replace them for anything, then I can easily just unscrew them and remove them. This place is looking like a bomb's hit it. What you can't see behind the camera is so much mess that I can hardly move about, so I need to clear all that away before I can move on with anything else. So if you're interested in seeing part 2, then hit subscribe if not already subscribed. Drop a little comment below. I'd like to know what people think. Hit the like button and I will see you again in part 2.